Hey guys, Ultra Maximus here, and I've got kind of a video discussion, a movie discussion I want to go over, and this really kind of prompted from earlier today. I watched the trailer for Red Dawn, the remake of Red Dawn, and I tell you what, I'm really personally disappointed in what I'm seeing so far. Of course, it's just a trailer, but it's just it's not hitting the marks for me. If you've never seen the original film, it's an '80s flick with Patrick Swayze and these kids out in California, Oregon, I can't remember exactly which state, it's been so long since I've seen the film. Out west, the Russians invade, take over the western part of the United States, and these kids who go to a high school, their mascots, the Wolverines, they band together. One of the football players on the team kind of leads this group of kids, and it's a lot of it's kind of the Brat Pack era movies, and they fend off the Russians in their town, and it was a great classic. I love the film. It kind of bugged me when I was a kid. That whole Cold War thing was right at the cusp of that, kind of the height of it in the '80s, and I really liked it when I was younger. And watching this trailer is really just kind of it. I read an article, and a guy really kind of drove it home for me, and he really hit the nail on the head, and he said it looks like they took the casting out of Abercrombie and Fitch. Brilliant. He is brilliant. Although we've got oh, Helmsworth is in it, but it doesn't look like his best stuff. I think he did a better job as Thor, and he was way better in Star Trek, the reboot of that, as George Kirk. He just sounds like he's doing a Sylvester Stallone impression. It just doesn't look like a very good outgoing for him. We also have Isabel Lucas in it, who is looking smoking hot, which we last seen her in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. She has another film coming out called The Loft, which looks very Hitchcockian. I'm kind of interested in that one. But yeah, so this film, I'm like, and I'm watching the trailer, and I just leave a random comment on there saying, looks like crap. And I really didn't think much of it. And then I get a reply to it from a fellow YouTuber who's AJ Rush 6. And he leaves a comment, which kind of caught my interest. I rarely look at comments I put on other videos, and he said, well, then you need to get, well, first he goes, oh, you think you could do better? And I'm like, well, if I had the right budget, yeah, I think I could. And he responded back, he said, well, then you need to get into film, Mr. Ultra Maximus, instead of talking crap on YouTube. Tell me, what film school did you go to? My first reaction was like, this guy's kind of jerky, what the hell? So I told him, hey, I went to Indiana University, I majored in motion picture production, and unfortunately they ended that program while I was going there, and I ended up switching to communication and culture, and started my training career before I got into the entertainment industry that I'm in now. And I typed that on there, and he responded back to my chagrin. Kind of surprised me. Most of the time, you see people start talking trash on YouTube, and the whole internet thing. And he said, fair enough. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, especially if they are educated. I'm like, okay, I can get this guy. I'm very big into education, and I'm also very jaded in the fact there are so many people that don't take advantage of educations, and it just really shows on public daily lives and interaction with people. So I can get that. I'm like, all right, yeah. And then he asked a question I really liked. He said, quick test. Name 3 movies, all different styles, that you would consider the way a movie should be made. I loved this question, and I'm like, huh. And my first instinct to react, and I replied, the 3 I picked off the top of my head was The Maltese Falcon, The Dark Crystal, and the original Halloween. And it got me really thinking. And afterwards, we kind of went back and forth on some different films, and he picked a few good ones. So I think he picked The Godfather 2. He picked North by Northwest or Psycho. He kind of tied on that one. And he also picked, oh gosh, I can't think of what the other one was off the top of my head. But he also brought up Raging Bull, which are all good films. And, I'm kind of thinking there, and, the way a movie should be made, and he's like, okay, those are all good picks, and he's like, you're obviously, because he was like, talking crap on YouTube and this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh no, I just think it sounds like crap. The movie looks like crap. And he's like, these are good picks. You're obviously talking about, style and that kind of stuff. And the question's so awesome. Something sitting there thinking, I'm like, what makes a film? Well, the way a film should be made, and and think about that. And their movies get pumped out so often today, right? That there's so much garbage out there. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. And, even today, there's some really well-done films. Peter Jackson does some good stuff. Sam Raimi. Spielberg still does good films from time to time. Ridley Scott. James Cameron. They're the kings of big blockbusters and, making good movies. And there's something to be said for films like, Titanic and Jurassic Park and... Prometheus and the Lord of the Rings, those films. Even the Star Wars films. They're well made, but they're not the original. That's a whole different topic there, so I'm going to avoid that one. But you know what I'm getting at. So these modern films, and I'll use Lord of the Rings as an example. It's a great film, and it's fun, and it's nerdy. It's got great special effects. It's based off a great piece of literature. But it's not the same. When I look at films, if I'm ever given a chance, and I've started to dabble into some micro cinema here in the future, but if I've ever been given a chance to be a director and to create a film and get a budget and actually do a film, and I got to that level. Which is way out of my job skill sets for the entertainment industry. But if I got the chance to do that, there's something about the movies made between the late 70s to the early 90s, that time frame, okay? And maybe because that's when I grew up. And I'm going to put the time frame between, let's say Jaws, the original blockbuster from the 70s, up to, we'll say Total Recall in the 90s, early 90s. And there's a difference in the way those films were made to the way they're made today. Okay? And it's got a lot to do with special effects, for one thing. Everything's a CG puppet today, and there's so much CG, and we've gotten used to it. But when you go back and look at films that use real effects, that use real props, it looks different. It looks more realistic. Hell, even Jurassic Park used a lot of robotic dinosaurs in scenes where they physically interacted. And Jurassic Park changed movie industry with the CG effects. Just like the original Star Wars changed the film industry with special effects and the way that it was edited, especially the way that it was edited. Those kind of films are dramatically different. His other film was Pulp Fiction. That was the one he brought up. And that's a good one. That's also another 90s film where we use real props, real fake blood. And that was a good one in the fact that, in one of Tarantino's better films, the fact that it's a non-linear story. And I like that. I really, really like that. So the way a movie should be made. First of all, I think it needs to be able to tell a good story. It needs class. And when I say that, it needs film class. It needs to have that certain look to it. Television looks different than film. And that comes into a few different reasons. One, the medium in which it's filmed on. Celluloid, 24 frames, looks much better than any digital, I think, that's out there because it looks like a movie. The cinematography on film is different than television, and I think, unfortunately, cinematography has really gone the wayside today in film. We're losing some of those great cinematographers, and those guys that did that from the 70s to 90s, I mean, they were older guys then. I mean, they've been around the business. They did a lot of those chop block films from the 40s and the 50s and 60s and such. So they've been around, they cut their teeth, and they're like, you know what, this looks good, this looks good, this doesn't look good. And I think it's going to take a little while until we get another really good crop of good cinematographers. I think that's highly important. And a good example of that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original film versus the remake. And I really like the remake because of a few things. One, they used the original cinematographer. And I think that helped that film a lot because that guy did the original film, obviously, so he also had a career after that, so he tried different things. So when he went back to that original film, what he did original movie, I'm sure had a huge impression on refilming the remake, but then the experiences he's had in other films also played a part, and it looked fantastic. You know, coloring and film washing and lighting, that all has a huge effect. And you lose that offset when you start using a lot of CG and polish up and airbrushing, photoshopping, I call it. There's something to be said for being on set somewhere or building a soundstage, setting up lighting, and getting a certain look. That's needs to be in a film. You know, using fake blood on set, using pop explosions, using pyrotechnics, using actual physical puppets if it's an alien or whatever. Those things can make a huge difference, and it doesn't look like a movie to me if it doesn't have that sort of thing. One of Tarantino's other good films as of late was his part in Grindhouse. That whole movie, he didn't want any CG in it. He does a lot of long takes, and I like that in his films. And it was all stuntmen, stunt women, actual cars, real wrecks, real races, real chases. And it makes a difference. Those, I think, are things that make it a movie. That really fit that this is the way a movie should be made kind of film. Look at Gremlins. You know, that has a classic look because of the film quality, because of the lighting, using the puppets. The Goonies, it's the same way. Those kind of films they just look great. They look like movies, and we've gone away from that. And it's quick MTV entertainment, pop, bubblegum type of stuff that gets pumped out there. But every once in a while, you do get a good film. And, it is what it is. The technology is what it is today. But when a filmmaker does go back and use those kind of things, and I don't mind if they blend it a little bit, but if they can use the real puppets, that kind of oxymoron, if they actually use puppets rather than all CG, or if they blend it kind of thing, I think that can make a tremendous difference. Now, one of the big things, me personally, I do like 3D. I'm a big advocate of it. And I've noticed in the short time that 3D has become a mainstream mode of vehicle, I guess, in the movie industry, is that the cinematographers are becoming very adept at using that depth, that 3D depth, in their filming when they're actually using the cameras. And that's good because that's showing it's this new generation of cinematographers. It's catching their attention. It's something new. They're playing with it. They're experimenting with it out in the field. And, you know, for me, being in college classes like that, and you're learning these things over and over and over, you're like, okay, yes, we're going to put somebody over here. You've got a 16:9. You want to offset this image. You're going to put something here in the center, maybe something over here, so we have a nice wide sweeping angle, you know, to show the largeness and the extremity of the set. You know, Waterworld is a great example. I love that film in its 16:9 format because that's another one of those. It used actual effects and props, and one of the most expensive props I think in movie history. And it really shows the expanse of the ocean. And I think some of these cinematographers are, you know, kind of getting bored with that kind of stuff, so that 3D is catching their attention because they didn't have that in class, that didn't exist then. And so they're experimenting and doing it on the fly, and they're sinking their teeth, and they're excited with it. You know, these are the things that the CG guys in Jurassic Park, you know, that's why that movie turned out so awesome. You know, the same thing with back in the day with Star Wars, those effects guys, you know, they started doing things that's never been done before, and the way it's been edited was never done that way before. So I think that's a great thing, and that's going to help this next generation of movies. But it is different. It's definitely not the same. But those are the qualities I think that should be in a film, and that's the way the movie should be made. So what do you guys think? Leave a message, leave a comment. AJ Resh 6, thanks very much for getting me to think about this and inspiring me to do a video for it, right? So I'm going to ask the same question that he did. Quick test, just off the top of your head. What 3 movies, 3 different styles, 3 different genres would you consider the way a movie should be made? This is the way a horror movie, this is the way a comedy, this is the way a rom-com, this is the way an adventure, sci-fi, whatever. Leave it down, a message down below. Make a video response. Let's get a discussion going on it. I really, really dig that idea. So I'm going to stop rambling. It's getting kind of late. I'm off to Chicago tomorrow. I got a Cubbies and Reds game. So go Cubs. Yay, Cubbies. And hopefully they win tomorrow. Should be a nice day at the ballpark. And have a great weekend, guys. Have a great week. Check out my channel. I got a contest going for the month of August here. It's the featured video of giving free stuff away. Check the video out. Subscribe. If you've got something you want me to review, take a look at, leave me a message, shoot me a private message, all that kind of good stuff, and I will catch you guys later. Have a good one.